You know, guys, I've referenced this podcast in the past. I highly recommend you guys do watch it. Nadeshot on the Mob several weeks ago now has brought up a lot of great points throughout the entire podcast. I broke down at least one segment already. This one, though, I would say even more important. His last time he talked about why Call of Duty League was a mistake, but this just kind of blew my mind how nonchalantly he throws these things out there. And, well, not too many people picked up on this, that being the fact that Nadeshot has admitted two gigantic facts, the first of which he was about to be a FaZe Clan owner when he departed Optic. We've talked about this in the past. Obviously, a stint with Optic Gaming, a former pro player in Call of Duty, offered some equity or ownership inside Optic. That equity never came, and so he came down to a choice of make his own organization in 100 Thieves or potentially be a co-owner of FaZe Clan. But here is why that did not happen. Luckily enough for a lot of us 100 Thieves fans out there, it did not happen because of this.
Good question. Did you ever get offered to join another org like before 100 Thieves was a thing?
Yeah, I was gonna be a co-owner of FaZe Clan.
Damn.
Wait, really?
What happened to that?
Somebody that was working at FaZe Clan at the time was not necessarily running the show, but he was like the point man, and I wasn't a very big fan of him.
You just stunned the chat.
It would have involved me like working with him like on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And the problem with FaZe is I love and respect everything they've done, but it just would have felt unnatural to me because like I came up with Optic, they came up with FaZe. And if I joined FaZe, I felt like I was taking credit for something I didn't do.
But I think even more shocking is a point we have brought up time and time again on here. We love talking about Thieves. We love talking about Optic as well as FaZe Clan in terms of brand power out there. We talked about content versus competition, personalities versus players. What's really important when it comes to an esports org valuation? We had the list talked about probably a few months ago now, the top 13 teams in esports. FaZe Clan was top 5, 100 Thieves was top 10, and the rise they both made through brand power and impressions and views and content over competition was very substantial. Nadeshot's next point is pretty wild, as he was going to potentially be an owner of FaZe Clan. That did fall through. He does still see, though, in the current esports setup, in terms of value for esports organizations, according to Nadeshot from 100 Thieves, FaZe Clan is currently the most valuable esports org in the entire world.
Yeah. I love Tommy and those guys.
Imagine that. I'm trying to picture.
I think FaZe Clan is the most valuable esports organization in the entire world.
Yeah.
I think it's fucking insane that Forbes and all of these different media companies come out with esports valuations and try to rank them.
Yeah.
And the fact that FaZe Clan isn't number one is unbelievable.
They're not number one.
They're not number
Who's
one.
number one?
FaZe Clan is I think it's Cloud9 or TSM or Team Liquid.
Cloud9?
They're huge.
Is that just because
No. I mean, look, they're really good at esports, but. Dude, I know how much like apparel that these teams are selling, man.
Yeah.
Like we sold more apparel in one drop last year than 90% of the organization sold in an entire year. And what FaZe Clan is doing from a media standpoint and content and their apparel, like they're 100% as a brand, like the number one most valuable team in all of gaming.
Yeah.
And this, to me, is why I agree with a lot of things that Nadeshot says or does in terms of how much value he does bring and how he sees value as well for not only his own organization, but other orgs that kind of follow suit, that being FaZe Clan. We all know the diversity of people they've already brought in terms of investors, collabs, the gigantic investors they have brought in terms of brand name and power alone this past year. Offset probably being one of the biggest, but still, they've had a wide variety of NBA stars and star athletes out there join the organization in some sense or another, and let alone all of their content creators who bring in millions upon hundreds of millions of views and impressions alone by themselves. When it comes to actually valuing an organization outside of competition, outside of trophies, I agree with Nadeshot. Currently on the top 5 list, we have teams Cloud9, Liquid, TSM, FaZe Clan, amongst others as well, and I think it could be brought to debate on that Forbes list who is actually worth the most. And I agree with Nadeshot, when you're a company like FaZe Clan, when it comes time for sheer brand power and how much you diversify yourselves view-wise and how well known you are recognition-wise, they are certainly amongst, if not the most valuable esports organization. That's why New York Times thinks they could be the first billion-dollar org. It just makes sense in terms of as well. On top of that, when it comes time for merch, Nadeshot even gave praise to FaZe Clan for merch, which we all know he is the king when it comes to merch sales so far, as he did also state he himself at 100 Thieves in a single drop can make more than 90% of esports orgs they did make on their entire merch drops throughout the entire year. That's a pretty harsh stat to bring out there, but if he knows it to be true, that's pretty insane. As well as FaZe Clan, they've had so many collabs, so many drops to close this year alone. It makes sense why these are the organizations who draw big money and big value, and it makes sense where Nadeshot's coming from when it comes to actually naming the #1 valued esports organization right now, why FaZe Clan certainly is in contention. Until next time, I hope you guys all enjoy breaking down random podcast interview segments here all day long alongside esports and gaming news. What do you guys think? What is the single most valuable esports organization currently right now in 2019, and who do you think will be #1 by the end of 2020? Until next time, take care of yourselves. I'll see you guys back here sometime soon.